き出したのにな。
火だ! Welcome back to Tokyo Revengers Season 1. Last time, in a skirmish with a rival gang, Taman's second-in-command and Takemichi's friend, Ken, was stabbed with a knife and mortally wounded. As Takemichi stumbles upon Ken, he's utterly shocked and immediately informs Manjiro. However, getting to Ken is no easy feat, as the fierce Shuji Hanma obstructs his path and initiates a fight with Manjiro. Despite Manjiro's best efforts, Shuji refuses to budge, leaving Takemichi to handle things himself. With Ken's life on the line, Takemichi takes matters into his own hands. Taking a deep breath, Takemichi hoists Ken onto his back and sets off to find medical aid. As he frantically navigates the streets, his heart pounds in his chest and beads of sweat form on his forehead. Suddenly, Hinata and Emma, two familiar faces, appear before him and offer much-needed support. They inform him that an ambulance is on the way, providing Takemichi with some much-needed relief. However, their moment of peace is short-lived as Masataka Kiyomizu and his henchmen approach. Takemichi's fear takes hold, but Ken awakens and encourages him to flee with Hinata and Emma. It's a tempting offer, but Takemichi realizes that he can't let this opportunity slip away. Despite his past mistakes, he's determined to fight back and get revenge. With newfound confidence, Takemichi strides up to Masataka and declares that he's not running away. Masataka is taken aback by Takemichi's sudden boldness, and even more annoyed when Ken, Hinata, and Emma bet on Takemichi's victory. As they face off once again, Takemichi knows that this is his chance to prove himself and emerge victorious. Takemichi attempts to punch Masataka. However, his efforts are thwarted when Masataka stabs him in the arm, stating that this isn't a one-on-one, but an execution. Despite the injury, Takemichi persists and attempts to hit Masataka, but he is knocked back with a fierce blow. Takemichi is left reeling, recalling how he once dreamed of taking over Japan and becoming a top delinquent. Alas, those dreams were shattered by Masataka, and Takemichi realizes that it was his own weakness that prevented him from ever challenging anyone again. Undeterred, Takemichi charges towards Masataka, tackling him and biting him with all his might. Masataka tries to fight back, hitting him in an attempt to make him let go, but Takemichi refuses to give up. In a moment of desperation, Takemichi manages to get on Masataka's back and starts choking him, determined to prove that he may not be like Manjiro, but he is Takemichi Hanagaki. As Masataka slowly loses consciousness, Takemichi emerges victorious, with his friends coming to his aid. Masataka's gang prepares to attack Takemichi, but he stands his ground, telling Hinata to take Emma and run. Ken, on the other hand, asks Takemichi if he wonders what heaven looks like, to which he responds with a smirk. Laughing, Ken stands up and tells him that he's going to hell, while Masataka's gang charges towards them. Just as things seem dire, Atsushi comes out of nowhere and punches one of Masataka's gang members, causing him to drop his knife. Makoto, Takaya, and Kazushi also join in and stand in front of Ken and Takemichi, determined to fight until the bitter end. Though they are getting beaten up, Atsushi and the rest refuse to give up, inspired by Takemichi's earlier bravery. Despite the odds being stacked against them, an ambulance's sirens are heard in the distance, and Takemichi grins in triumph, knowing that they have won. With his friends by his side, Takemichi emerges victorious, proving that even in the face of adversity, one can triumph if they have the courage to fight. Hearing the sirens blaring in the distance, Masataka's gang frantically scatter in every direction, abandoning their leader. Amidst the chaos, Hinata and Emma take charge and lead the medics to Takemichi and Ken's location. Meanwhile, Taman manages to triumph over Mobius, with only Manjiro and Shuji left standing. As the two remaining fighters catch their breath, Shuji expresses his admiration for Manjiro's remarkable endurance. Suddenly, a man comes rushing over to pick Shuji up, warning of the approaching police. With everyone else fleeing the scene, Shuji pulls Manjiro close and reveals his plans to create the most formidable biker gang alliance in Kanto, Valhalla. He reintroduces himself as the first vice commander of this treacherous new gang. Meanwhile, Takemichi and Ken are being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. Ken is filled with gratitude towards Takemichi for saving his life and urges him to take good care of Manjiro. However, before he can finish his thought, Ken suddenly goes into cardiac arrest. The doctors frantically begin performing CPR, fighting to save his life. Upon their arrival at the hospital, Takemichi's friends and fellow Taman members gradually start to trickle in one by one. Amidst the anxious commotion, Manjiro assures everyone that Ken is a man of his word and promised to conquer the world together with him. Therefore, he refuses to believe that Ken will die and urges everyone else to do the same. Will Ken live? Before we find out, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Would you prioritize saving someone's life or immediately exacting retribution? Comment down below and get a chance to be shouted out. As the operation concludes, the doctors emerge and announce that the procedure was a success and Ken is alive. The group erupts with joy and jubilation, embracing one another and exchanging high fives. Eager to share the good news, they rush out to inform the rest of the crew. However, Peian hesitates, reluctant to face the others. Sensing his unease, Takashi reassures him that they understand why he did what he did, but no one was more concerned for Panchin's well-being than Ken himself. In fact, Takashi divulges a heartwarming anecdote about how Ken would visit Panchin's parents every day, even though he was not related to him and was not permitted to see him. Hearing this, Peian relents, agreeing to apologize to everyone for his actions. Stepping outside the hospital, Takemichi glances at his watch and realizes that it is now past midnight on August 4th. This means that Ken did not die on August 3rd, and Takemichi has accomplished his mission. The Taman gang rejoices, hugging each other tightly and shedding tears of joy. However, amidst the revelry, Takemichi notices that Manjiro is absent. He sets out to locate him and finds him alone in a secluded corner, crying uncontrollably. Takemichi understands the overwhelming emotions that Manjiro must be experiencing and decides to give him some space to process his feelings. Later, on August 10th, the rumors of the fight had brought more rumors and, consequently, Takemichi had become a legend for stopping the fight. As he relishes in his newfound fame, he simply can't bear the thought of going back to the present. Eager to visit Ken, he braves it, but he ends up being scolded for how lame he looks and acts. After all, Ken can't quite fathom how Takemichi could have lived so far in the shadows for so long. Takemichi can't help but yell back, insisting that Ken will never know what it feels like to finally be seen. Despite the tense exchange, Ken has a surprise for Takemichi: Taman's uniform. The uniform belonged to none other than Manjiro, and he wanted Takemichi to have it as a token of gratitude for saving Taman. Free to make his own decision, Takemichi ponders the idea of donning the uniform, taking in the weight of the gesture. It's a humbling moment, and Ken thanks him once again before pointing him in the direction of Manjiro on the roof. Up on the roof, Manjiro is deep in thought, trying to piece together the mystery behind Shuji's plans for Taman. He's curious as to why Shuji wanted to cause inner conflict within Taman, and why he used Masataka to kill Ken. As he muses on these questions, Manjiro is struck by the realization that Takemichi was the first to pick up on these oddities and try to put a stop to it. Manjiro is left wondering who Takemichi really is. Meanwhile, Takemichi tries to gather his thoughts and comes up with an answer. But Manjiro interrupts him with a mocking comment on his lame outfit. Despite the slight, Manjiro can't help but feel grateful to Takemichi for saving Ken. Takemichi hesitates to leave the present as he feels a sense of comfort, but he knows he needs to see Naoto. With a deep breath, he makes his way to Hinata's place, hoping he can make things right. As he approaches the door, his heart races with anticipation. He's relieved to see Naoto, who greets him with a smile. Trying to make up for his past mistakes, Takemichi presents Hinata with a beautiful 4-leaf clover necklace. He hopes this small token of appreciation will show her how much he cares. And just as he finishes giving her the gift, Naoto shows up. Takemichi shakes Naoto's hand, grateful for his help in changing the past. He knows he needs to return to the present, but he can't shake the feeling that something is different. He realizes that because Ken is alive, Teta Kisaki won't become number 2. Manjiro won't change due to Ken's death, Atsushi Sendo won't kill himself, and Hinata won't get killed. The present is different, and it's all because of him. As he returns to the video store, he's surprised to find himself still working there. Hasegawa is scolding him once again, but he doesn't care. He knows he's changed the future. He checks his phone, searching for Naoto's contact, but he can't find it. However, he sees a reminder for a scheduled meeting at the salon and decides to check it out. When he arrives at the salon, he's shocked to see Atsushi Sendo working there. He never imagined him as a hairstylist. Atsushi explains that he just started and is only an assistant. He reveals that he called Takemichi because they will finally allow him to start cutting hair next month, and he wants Takemichi to be his first customer, just like they promised. Takemichi is overjoyed that he managed to change the present. He knows that everything he did in the past was worth it, and just as he starts to feel at peace, he receives a call from an unknown number. It's Naoto, and she's realized that Takemichi has managed to change the present. She wants them to go see Hinata. Takemichi's heart races with excitement as he sets off to see Hinata, eager to see the changes he's made. As Takemichi rides in Naoto's car, he can't help but reflect on his feelings of helplessness when he first learned about Hinata's death. With every passing moment, memories flood his mind, and he feels a mix of excitement and anxiety at the thought of finally meeting her again. While Takemichi excitedly thinks about the possibilities of reconnecting with Hinata, Naoto interrupts his thoughts, informing him that the Taman dispute, which was responsible for Hinata's death, didn't occur in the current frame. Despite his initial shock, Takemichi is relieved that he successfully accomplished his mission, especially since Naoto seemed to have low expectations for him. Finally, they arrive at Hinata's apartment, and Takemichi can hardly contain his excitement. He feels as if his dream has come true and wonders if Hinata has changed over the years. Naoto, however, reminds him that time has passed and she's now an adult and an elementary school teacher. Takemichi's mind races as he imagines the reunion with Hinata, but suddenly he becomes nervous and unsure. He tells Naoto that he can't see Hinata and that Naoto should visit her alone. After all, they are strangers now and he doesn't want to impose on her. As he walks away, he wishes her a good life, believing that she has forgotten about him. Despite the fact that he's changed the future, Takemichi realizes that he's still the same person he was 12 years ago. He's a 26-year-old virgin part-timer who feels like a loser. However, he's determined to keep moving forward and make the most of his second chance. As he prepares to re-enter his old life, Takemichi runs into a familiar face, a grown-up Hinata, who never fails to surprise him. Memories flood back, and Takemichi can't help but cry at the sight of her. Hinata was his biggest cheerleader in the past, the one who pushed him to fight for a better future. But things aren't the same as they used to be, and the trio's awkwardness is palpable as they sit together in Hinata's apartment. Naoto can't take it anywhere and decides to make a quick exit, leaving Takemichi alone with Hinata. He's a bundle of nerves, and Hinata can't help but chuckle at his reaction. Takemichi notices the necklace around her neck, and he can't help but wonder if it's the same one he gave her all those years ago. The uncertainty eats away at him, and he tries to sneak a peek in the rearview mirror, desperate for any sign that Hinata still cares for him. Just as the tension seems to reach its peak, Naoto's phone rings, and he's called away for police backup. He hands the keys to Hinata and assures them that he'll be back for the car tomorrow. Takemichi thinks he's missed his chance with Hinata, but she surprises him once again, asking him to take a walk with her. As they stroll through the park, Takemichi feels a glimmer of hope. Maybe there's still a chance for him and Hinata after all. Hinata tells Takemichi that the park brings back memories, and in particular, she remembers a special moment spent with someone she liked on Christmas Eve. Hearing this, Takemichi realizes that Hinata has moved on, and he deeply regrets his naivety. Memories of his past with Hinata flood back, and he remembers the heartbreak of her dumping him 12 years ago. Hinata confesses that she still hasn't forgotten the person who broke her heart on that fateful Christmas Eve, and Takemichi can't believe anyone would do that to her. Hinata begins to cry, desperately asking Takemichi why she was dumped. Takemichi's world is suddenly turned upside down when he realizes that Hinata is talking about him. Overwhelmed with this realization, he stumbles to the bathroom, his mind racing as he tries to reconcile his memories with this newfound information. Hinata's words have sparked something within him and he decides that it's time to change. He musters up the courage to ask Hinata out, determined to make things right between them. As he exits the bathroom, he is met with a surprise encounter with a man who he quickly realizes is Shuji. His unease grows as he hurries to Naoto's car, where Hinata is sitting, just in time to see a car heading straight towards them. In that moment, Takamichi realizes that he must protect Hinata at all costs. Feeling horrified by the crash, Takamichi rushes toward it in a state of panic. As he approaches the accident, his heart races and he can feel his palms beginning to sweat. The driver of the car, to his horror, turns out to be a gravely injured Akun. Takamichi cannot believe what he is seeing and asks Akun why he isn't in the car. Through his pain, Akun utters the same words that he had said in their previous encounter in the future. Takamichi can feel his emotions starting to bubble up inside of him, wondering how things could have gone so wrong and how Kisaki could be the cause of all of this. Despair takes over Takamichi's face as he implores Akun to hold on, but it's too late. Suddenly, Akun's car explodes, sending Takamichi into a state of shock. In a rush, he scrambles to find Hinata, hoping against hope that she has survived. As he makes his way through the wreckage, his heart racing with each step, he finally sees her, and relief washes over him. Takamichi's feelings for Hinata cannot be contained any longer. As he tries to get her out of the car, he tells her that he loves her and always will. Hinata's response is heart-wrenching, telling Takamichi that she is glad to hear it, but that he needs to leave her behind. Takamichi refuses, his love for her overpowering all sense of self-preservation. The fire roars in front of him, a symbol of everything that has gone wrong, but instead of succumbing to despair, Takamichi's determination to save Hinata only grows stronger. He makes a vow to himself to become the top member of Taman, no matter what it takes. The future may be uncertain, but one thing is for sure. Takamichi will stop at nothing to save the one he loves. What a heartbreaking way to end off episode 12. Will Takamichi find out who killed his lover? Who's pulling the strings from within the shadows? Find out on our next recap of Tokyo Revengers.